Imagine a store, Friday evening. Your child drops to the floor, screaming, kicking their legs, while hundreds of eyes watch. You feel hot, awkward, and endlessly ashamed. Everything inside you clenches. Not this act again. Just give in. You need to be stricter. You've definitely heard these voices before, maybe even your own. But what if I told you that in this exact moment, your child isn't trying to manipulate you? That this isn't a tantrum, spoiling, or a sign of poor parenting? That it's literally a cry for help they simply don't yet know how to put into words? Today, we'll break down why children's meltdowns are actually the most honest signal they can send, and what hides behind every scream. Watch until the end, and you'll forever change how you hear your child. Welcome to the channel. Today, we're diving into a topic that drains even the most patient parents. We'll look at childhood tantrums and so-called bad behavior through the lens of developmental psychology. You'll discover what's really going on in those moments, why our habitual reactions often make things worse, and what simple, science-backed steps can turn chaos into understanding. This video matters because every time we respond to a child's emotions correctly, we're not just putting out a fire, we're building a foundation of trust that will support your child for life. Let's set the record straight right away. What we casually call a tantrum or a meltdown is often referred to in psychology as emotional overload or dysregulation. It's not a conscious choice. It's a moment when their internal systems simply can't handle what's happening inside or around them. And you're not alone in this struggle. Research shows that over 80% of parents face situations they perceive as uncontrollable outbursts at least once a week. Yet the vast majority of adults interpret this as manipulation or a lack of discipline. The paradox is that the stricter we try to put them in their place during emotional overload, the tighter the cycle becomes. The problem is so widespread because for centuries we've been taught to suppress symptoms rather than hear the signal. Today, we're finally shifting our perspective. To understand how to help, we need to see the full picture. Let's break down the 5 key mechanisms behind children's meltdowns. First, immature braking systems in the brain. A child physically can't stop when emotions overwhelm them. Imagine driving on ice with no brake pedal. Do you yell at the road? No. You understand the system isn't ready yet. In children under 6 or 7, the brakes are still being wired into place. When they scream, "I don't want to," their nervous system has long since hit the gas. Second, hidden physiological deficits. We often search for deep psychological causes, but the truth is often much simpler. The child hasn't slept, is thirsty, has stomach discomfort, or is just exhausted from noise and bright lights. Kids don't say, "Mom, my energy levels dropped and now I'm irritable." They react with their bodies and their voices. You've probably noticed how 1 extra hour without a nap turns a calm toddler into a hurricane. That's not personality, that's pure biology. Third, the communication gap. Many assume children stay quiet or scream because they lack vocabulary. In reality, they often know the words, but stress blocks access to them. It's like trying to explain something important during a panic attack. Your mouth opens, but only sound comes out. A child screams because it's the only channel still working. They're literally knocking on the door, hoping you'll hear the knock instead of scolding them for the noise. Fourth, reaction to loss of control. Children live in a world where adults make almost every decision. When they're told, "Take off your jacket, leave the playground, finish your soup," they constantly bump into other people's boundaries, and sometimes a meltdown is just an attempt to reclaim even a tiny piece of control over their own life. It's not a rebellion against you personally, it's a cry, "I matter too, I need to feel like my desires count." Fifth, accumulated stress and invisible anxiety. Moving, a new caregiver, a conflict with a friend, even your own tension that a child absorbs as background noise. Children are perfect barometers of family atmosphere. They may not be able to name the source of their worry, but their bodies react instantly. In these cases, tantrums are a pressure valve releasing steam. If you keep it shut, the pipe will burst. Let's look under the hood. In our brains, there are two main players in this drama. The first is the amygdala, the ancient alarm system that screams danger at the slightest discomfort. The second is the prefrontal cortex, our inner director, responsible for logic, planning, and self-control. In adults, they work in tandem. In a child, especially under stress, the director simply steps out for lunch while the alarm blares at full volume. When you start lecturing, reasoning, or threatening in that moment, you're talking to a director who isn't physically there. The child's brain is in survival mode. They aren't listening. They're scanning. Is this safe? If you raise your voice, the amygdala reads it as a threat and pumps out more stress hormones. Cortisol and adrenaline flood the space. Logic shuts down completely. And only when the safety signal returns, through a calm voice, an open posture, gentle touch, does the prefrontal cortex gradually wake up. Science calls this co-regulation. We literally lend the child our calm nervous system until theirs learns to function on its own. Someone might ask, so this is normal for everyone? Generally, yes, but some groups face a bumpier road.
First, children with high sensory sensitivity. For them, noise, bright lights, touch, or strong smells are like loud music in headphones you can't turn off. Their nervous systems overload faster. These outbursts are also more common in children navigating major life changes: a new sibling, divorce, changing schools. Their inner world is under reconstruction, and meltdowns are a side effect of growth. And of course, we can't ignore parents. Those raised in strict households where emotions were suppressed, or those dealing with chronic stress and burnout, are more likely to interpret a child's meltdown as a personal attack. This creates a loop. The parent reacts harsher, the child screams louder, the parent withdraws. It's important to understand. This isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility. What happens if we keep reacting the old way? The consequences accumulate quietly but steadily. Physically, chronic stress in children disrupts sleep, immunity, and appetite. The body stays in defense mode, leaving no resources for growth and development. Psychologically, it builds the belief, my feelings are wrong. I'm only loved when I'm convenient. This is a direct path to anxiety, low self-esteem, and an inability to set boundaries later in life. Socially, these children often become either overly compliant, fearing conflict, or aggressively reactive because they don't know another way to communicate. And what about parents? Burnout, guilt, constant household tension. Relationships turn into a battlefield where everyone expects an ambush. But the good news? All of this is reversible, and the turning point begins with one simple shift in perspective. So how do we break the cycle? No magic pills, but there are clear, proven steps backed by cognitive behavioral therapy, attachment theory, and mindfulness practices.
Step 1. Regulate yourself before you try to regulate your child. You can't put out a fire while standing in it. Take a deep breath. Tell yourself, this isn't an attack on me, it's overload. If you feel yourself snapping, step away for a minute. That's not abandoning your child, it's giving yourself the chance to return with resources intact. Step 2. Name the emotion. Don't correct the behavior right away. Instead of stop screaming, say, I see you're really angry. It's hard that we have to leave. This doesn't mean you agree to their demand. You're giving a name to what's happening inside. In psychology, this is called validation. When an emotion is named, its intensity drops. The brain gets the message, I'm seen, I'm safe. Step 3. Create predictability. Anxiety thrives in uncertainty. Use simple routines, visual schedules, and give advance warnings before transitions. We're wrapping up play in 5 minutes. This gives the child's brain time to prepare instead of being thrown into shock by a sudden rule change. Step 4. Teach emotional language during calm moments, not mid-meltdown, but at dinner, in the car, or before bed. Play Guess the Emotion. Read books. Discuss cartoons. How do you think that character felt? What would you have done? This builds neural pathways for future self-regulation. Step 5. Connection before correction. Before setting boundaries or explaining rules, re-establish contact.
A hug, eye contact at their level, a quiet voice. Once the nervous system is calm, the child can actually hear you. Rules without connection are just noise. Connection without rules is chaos. Together, that's parenting.
Your child isn't throwing a fit. They're learning to navigate this complex, loud, unpredictable world. And every meltdown isn't broken behavior. It's an invitation to become their safe harbor, a place where they can breathe, cry, and try again. You don't need to be a perfect parent. You just need to be present, and that's more than enough. If this video resonated with you, leave a comment below. What situation are you finding hardest to handle right now? Let's support each other. Hit like if you'd like me to cover more topics on child psychology and mindful parenting. Subscribe so you don't lose this channel in the endless sea of advice. Remember, you're already on the right path simply because you're looking for answers. And your child isn't made happy by perfect conditions, but by having you nearby, learning how to truly hear them. See you in the next video. Take care of yourself and your loved ones.